So we're here to tell you a little bit tonight about the Troops for Teachers programme, about Cohort 3, and we're recruiting at the moment for September 2015, and we'll be recruiting in the autumn for September 2016. As you'll see from the slide there, it is a non-graduate programme, so we're talking specifically tonight about the programme for those of you who've not yet got a degree, you're not yet a graduate, and there is some alternative provision for people who are graduates, but that's a little bit different, and you would need to contact us to find out more details about that. So, moving on. I want to tell you, first of all, just a little bit of a sort of overview, and then I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about how the programme works, and tell you a little bit more about how we select applicants and what happens if applicants come through to an interview day. So that's sort of my format for tonight. So first of all, just to give you an overview, this is quite a very different, a very prestigious programme. It's not like other routes into teaching in that it is the only employment-based route for non-graduates. So currently it's the only non-graduate employment-based route. Effectively, that means that you're working in a school and you're an employee of that school, just like any other teacher. Okay, so that's the basis of the programme. We also, distinctively for this programme, have a network of universities that we work with. So it's not solely University of Brighton, although we are the lead provider for this route. We work with 6 other universities nationally who all contribute very effectively to the programme. We've invested very heavily in innovative technologies, and our university study is done largely through web-based approaches. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. And the programme also includes a strong leadership and management element in recognition of the sorts of backgrounds that many of our service leavers have come with, and in preparation for them moving on very quickly in their early careers into taking on responsibilities within school and working towards leadership and management roles. And just my little highlight points at the bottom there, you'll see that actually we're just beginning to get to the end of Cohort 1 of the programme, and so far the employability statistics look really, really good, comparable to other programmes, and many of our trainees have already secured employment for January when their programme has completed. And the final bit of news there, which I think you're all aware of, is that we have very recently extended the eligibility criteria, and up until recently we were looking for people who'd completed their service within 2 years, but now that's been extended to 5 years. So we hope and we believe that that will make the programme open to a much bigger field of applicants. I thought I'd just start with a few little comments from trainees. So the comments in purple are from students who've gone through the programme at the moment, and as Kevin said, you'll have a chance to speak to Colin and Jenny a little bit later on about their experiences. But that just gives you a little bit of a feel for what it's like to run the programme. The comment in the blue is from one of our employing head teachers who selected one of our trainees and is working with them at the moment, and in fact has employed them when they reach the end of their programme. So that just gives you a little bit of feel for what people are saying about the programme. So moving on to how the programme actually works, I thought I'd say a little bit now about the trainee experience. As I said before, it's an employment-based route. You're employed for 2 years, so it's a 2-year programme, working within a delivery school. And that brings huge benefits that come sort of packaged up with on-the-job training, with working alongside colleagues within school, with having opportunities to observe outstanding teaching, and move yourself forward in terms of your own professional development on that Monday to Thursday timetable. Okay. We start the programme reasonably gently in that very early on in year 1, you are working with an experienced teacher, supporting groups, supporting individuals, doing your first bits of teaching, moving through towards the end of year 1, where you reach your first assessed period, and you're expected to be teaching for 50% of the time during that assessed period, and the school and the universities are making judgments about your progress. Moving into second year, we continue to build on that 50% right up to your final assessed period, where you're teaching 75% of a normal teacher's timetable over that Monday to Thursday period. The Friday is for everybody a study day. So all schools who employ you are required to release you on that Friday so that you can work at home over the web on the university programme. And there's effectively two types of activity on that Friday. One is what we call a scheduled task, where you sign into a webinar, a bit more interactive than this in that you can see the tutors and you can interact with other participants a little bit more easily. And we engage in discussion and lecture and seminar type activity over the web. The other Friday activity is a self-study task where we might set you some reading or some reflection or some sort of activity that you need to get on with on your own. But you have that Friday protected to allow you to engage in that degree level study. As well as that, we have residential study periods, and there are 6 of those across the 2 years of the programme, where we bring trainees all together into a central location. We're trying to vary that location so that everybody experiences different travel distances. It's not always in Brighton. We've had them recently.
Now joining.
We've had them recently in Bristol, and we've got one upcoming in Canterbury. We've had them in Manchester. We've had them in various locations. And those generally last for a week, although for cohort 3 and 4, some of them will be 2-day and 3-day. But there's short periods where we all come together and we have some face-to-face teaching sessions. And we call it intensive study period because it is pretty intensive. And actually, we very often find ourselves working right up until 9 o'clock at night and then continuing the conversation later as the evening moves on. And the final point on there is that this is, of course, a salaried route. So as you're in school Monday to Thursday, you're salaried at 0.8 of the basic starting salary for an unqualified teacher. And at the moment, that works out at roughly £12,900. The correct figures on the screen there. And there is some additional weighting if you're in the London Fringe or in central London to reflect the national pay scales. Okay, so that's one of the distinctive features. And the final little sort of highlight point there is that you're not expected necessarily to find your own school. If you're coming to the programme as an applicant who already has experience or connections with the school, then we'd love to hear that, and we're happy to work with you to secure that for your training. But equally, we have got many trainees who've come through who we found them suitable schools in their local area where they can undertake this training. Just moving on with the training experience, I just wanted to say a little bit about the academic study, because of course this is not just about training to become a teacher. You're actually also securing a University of Brighton degree. So you will become a University of Brighton graduate at the same time as becoming a teacher and achieving your QTS. And we do that through the academic study element. It's a common modular programme. In other words, that all trainees work through a series of modules. And those modules have been designed, yes, to secure your academic degree, but also to support your development as a teacher. So, as you would imagine, we have modules that are looking at things like, how children learn, learning theory and assessment and other things like that. On top of that, we have specialist subject modules. So, secondary trainees will pick up a module in the first year and another module in the second year that focus on the subject that they are teaching, whether that be mathematics or PE or whatever. And primary trainees focus very much in year 1 on how to teach literacy and numeracy, English and maths, and then move on in year 2 to extending that, continuing with English and maths, but extending that to science and having little bits and pieces of the wider foundation curriculum. Also, as a University of Brighton student, we should point out that you have full access to the University of Brighton online resource, which is really considerable and allows you to access articles in books and journals and all sorts of things that are not available just by simple web searches. So we support the academic programme through our online library. We also don't have any exams on this route. I know sometimes people are worried about, so there are no exams at all. We assess everything through coursework, which of course means mainly assignments, but we also have assessed presentations and other bits and pieces that we require our students to do and that are graded and go towards their degree classification at the end of the course. As far far as the assessment of the professional development of our trainees, that's largely done through the assessed periods. There are some observations outside of those periods, but the bulk of it comes during the third term of the first year and the third term of the second year, where we observe your teaching and we require your schools to carefully make judgments against you against teacher standards. And what you do is you collect all of those up along with any other relevant bits and pieces and build up an electronic online portfolio, which we provide you with, so you're developing a bank of evidence to demonstrate that you have in fact met the teacher standards by the end of your training. And we offer lots of support and guidance on that, and that's a central and important part of the programme. And just my little highlight point at the bottom there, of course, there are all sorts of benefits of being a full-time student, which you can enjoy. You can join the Students' Union, which will give you access to cheap cinema tickets and all of that sort of business. So, you are classified as a full-time student. And many of our trainees, for example, have been able to get reductions in their council tax and things like that, all of those sorts of benefits that go along with being a University of Brighton student. So moving on to applications, what are we actually looking for? Now, we know that the work that we do around eligibility for this programme is a little bit complex, and we're very, very happy to advise applicants. And in fact, I know that many of you who are listening here tonight have been in touch with us and have sought some guidance and advice about eligibility, and that's absolutely not a problem. I've got some contact details coming up at the end of this presentation so that you can get in touch. But effectively what we're looking for is people who've served for at least 4 years. We're looking for people who've completed their service within 5 years of making their application, although you can make an application whilst you're still serving in preparation for leaving the services in the future. We're looking for candidates who meet the national requirements for GCSEs. So this is not a special requirement for troops to teachers. It's the same for any programme. We're looking for grade C or above in English or maths, and trainees who want to teach primary also need science. If you don't have the grade C at GCSE, we can look at a whole range of equivalent qualifications. So again, get in touch with us to seek advice about whether you meet that eligibility requirement or what you can do to make sure that you do meet it for a place in the future. The other big piece of work around eligibility is to do with CATS points. And again, this causes some confusion, but simply stated, this is what we call an advanced standing programme. Now, all university degrees are normally 3 years long. You'll have noticed this one's 2 years long, and we're able to do that by taking account of previous study to compensate for the extra year, the first year of the programme, as it were. So 120 CATS points equates to 1 year of higher education study. So this programme effectively then becomes year 2 and year 3 to get your degree. CATS points can come from a whole range of different things, and we've got trainees on the programme at the moment who've gained their points through a huge, diverse range of activity, and I can't possibly list all that now, but you can get in touch with us to get further detail about that. Realistically, we're looking for study at level 4 or above. Okay, so that's sort of post-A-level type study. Very often that comes through military qualifications, and again, there's a whole range of different things that we can consider there. If you want to teach a secondary subject, then you do need to have that credit in the subject you want to teach. Okay, so we know lots of people have got technical qualifications, engineering qualifications, people have done open university modules, people have done PTI training, all sorts of different things which will give them that specialist subject credit. And equally, we've built up a resource, a bank of ideas of things that you can go away and do if you need to delay your start on the programme to make sure that you secure that credit before you start. And I'm very, very happy to advise on that. Finally, you see the little highlight point there, just to clarify that applications for this route, just like all applications to teach training, come in through UCAS. So www.ucas.com. Search through the undergraduate section for the Troops to Teachers programme, and all of our routes will appear. We do recommend that you only apply for one route, even though there are multiple routes into the programme, because if you're not sure about which subject you want to teach, we can always change that once we've got you through the system. You don't need to make multiple applications and pay the fee for making those applications. Okay. Just moving on, what additional things are we looking for in terms of over and above the basic eligibility? There are some things that stand out and that really help with an application. One of them is school experience. So while school experience is not ultimately essential, we will consider people with strong backgrounds who don't have school experience. It really is an advantage, and I think it's a massive advantage to you because it gives you the confidence that you've been into a classroom, you understand a little bit about what it's like, and you can sort of have a firmer commitment to seeking a career in teaching. It will also help you with your interview if you're successful, because the interview is a very practical, very classroom-focused, education-focused interview. And if you've got that school experience, it gives you the opportunity to answer the questions with a little bit more detail and make reference to things that you've seen, things that you've done, things that you've heard people talking about. It's also important that we fit in with other national regulation, for example, the professional skills tests. So like anybody entering teaching, candidates coming through the Troops to Teachers programme need to pass a skills test in English and Maths before they're able to start the programme. You are eligible to register for those tests as soon as you've made your application, and I recommend that you do that and you look to book yourself a test before you come to interview if possible, but equally if you do come to interview, let us know that you've booked those or you've got a strategy, you've got a plan. There are practice tests online and plenty of materials, commercial materials available to support you if you think you're going to have problems with those tests, but generally we found that people don't have significant difficulties if they're well prepared and they are looking ahead at what it is that they need to do. Finally, there's a requirement for a reference for this programme, so you need to have a little think about who would make a suitable referee, someone who's more senior than you in the services, or if you're out working, your line manager, whatever that might be, someone who can give a bit of testimony to your character and that you are that they consider you to be suitable for entering the teaching profession. And then just that little highlight point at the end there, that there's lots of information about general information about becoming a teacher available on the Get Into Teaching website, as well as some routes through specifically for Troops to Teachers. Okay. Not too many more. Moving on, I just thought I'd say a little bit about what happens if you are successful and we select you for interview. We hold the interviews at regional locations, so we try to move those around a little bit so that we're not always requiring everybody to come down to Brighton. The day starts with a course presentation where myself or a colleague will tell you a little bit more about the programme and give you an opportunity to ask questions and give you the sort of information really that I'm giving you this evening. There is then a written task where we're looking at two things effectively. We're looking at your ability to write in standard English, which obviously is really important if you're a teacher and you're marking books, you're writing to parents, you're writing on the board, those sorts of things, but also your capacity to take on the academic demands of the study and a realistic opportunity to get you through to being awarded a University of Brighton degree. Then we move on to a presentation. We'll send you details of that in advance, but you're asked to give a short 5-minute creative presentation telling us a little bit about how you see teaching and what you would bring to teaching, and there's a little group activity that goes along with that. And then you have an individual interview where you're working, speaking to one of our tutors or one of our representatives from school, and we have some sort of set questions that we work through to really confirm your commitment to teaching and your suitability for the programme. We make decisions very carefully. All of our decisions are carefully moderated. We consider evidence from the written task, from the presentation, from the interview to make a sort of holistic decision about a trainee. And we release those decisions through UCAS. So when you join UCAS, if you haven't already done so, you'll get a UCAS track account, and that will be the place where you will be able to see whether you have been successful or not. We're not able to tell you on the day. Any offers that we do make for the programme are subject to a couple of standard things. Again, like any other teacher training route, you need to be cleared by the debarring service, in other words, what used to be called the CRB, the criminal record check, that's what DBS means, and also a health check to determine that you are fit to teach. And your offer is also subject to you being successfully matched with an employing school. So the interview process itself is stage 1, securing a place in a school is stage 2. And again, the little highlight point there is just to be really clear that actually, because we talk to a lot of our applicants, nearly all of our applicants beforehand, we look at their qualifications, we discuss their suitability before they even come to interview. The truth is that our success rates are really, really very good. And if you're selected for interview, you should feel very, very confident that you've got a good chance of coming through to the program. So, nearly finished now. Just last little bit, just to give you sort of 4 key things that I think you need to consider if you're not sure about the Troops for Teachers program. First of all, that we have an inspiring, we have a relevant teaching team from a number of universities across England who contribute to this program, and we're really able to offer that sort of expert advice and support that you need to make strong progress in your employment setting. Secondly, although this is a distance learning model, and actually our trainees are spread right from down in Cornwall all the way up to Colin in the north of Northumberland, you still have a strong sense of community. So our trainees do really connect with each other. They do work with each other on a weekly basis, and there is a very strong community feel and collaborative learning feel to this program. Thirdly, employment rates, I've already said, are very good. Achievement rates are also good in terms of the grades that students are achieving as they work through the program, and we benchmark those against our other routes like PGC and School Direct, and Troops for Teachers so far has exceeded our expectations, and the comparisons are very favourable indeed. And finally, just to be clear, we engaged in this program for a reason, and we do really value the service background of the people coming onto this program. We really recognise the potential that they have, and really value what they're able to offer children, pupils in classrooms, as well as leadership and management opportunities within school. So I'd just like to end with some contact details, and I'll leave those on the screen, hopefully, Kevin, if that's okay. To give you the chance to note those down. And now I'm really happy to take some questions from you. I can see that there's been a lot of activity in the stream, so I'm sure Kevin's got some things to ask me already.